Well, welcome, Kelly. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Lami. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you for joining us for the House Sit Chat. I wonder if you could introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to house sitting.
Well, I'm Kelly HAYES RAITT, and I've been house sitting full-time for the last 10 years. I primarily house sit by myself. I'm a 58-year-old woman, so I've been doing this now for a while, and I'm really excited about the lifestyle and the opportunities I've had. How did I get started? Well, I didn't exactly roll out of bed one morning and wake up and say, I'm going to be a house sitter from now on. It was something that kind of evolved. I was a political consultant in California, and that's what I'd done for my career. I ran for office myself, got my butt kicked, and decided I needed to take a break from politics. And I wanted to travel more. And I fell into house sitting by accident, and it just turned out to be a great lifestyle for me. The first international house sit I did was in London for 2 months during the Olympics. Oh, it was so brilliant.
What a gig.
I know. I was house sitting for a kitty that was just in Leytonstone, 2 stops away from where the Olympic Village was. So every time I got on the tube, there were athletes and volunteers, and the city was just on fire that summer. And it really excited me about the possibilities of house sitting, not just having a great time in a new city, but to give home pet owners an opportunity to go travel the way they want to, but also a chance to really immerse myself in communities. And that the last part really was what initially hooked me, was that I could really live like a local. And I like that.
Well, thank you. That's a really, really wonderful description. I mean, I see the colors and the banners now. I remember London in 2012. It really was an exciting time.
Very exciting.
So a great introduction. Well, and now you write, and you're a travel blogger, you're an author, published author. So tell us a little bit about, I mean, obviously you've traveled extensively. What is it about house sitting specifically that kind of keeps you on the road and wanting to see more places? Is there anything particular about the house sitting experience?
Absolutely. I love the idea of allowing pet owners to be able to go away and enjoy their holiday and not have a worry. To me, that is such a valuable service that I provide, not just for the homeowners, but for the pets as well. Being able to keep pets in their own home and their own routine. I just love it. And then for me, it's an opportunity to, as I said, live like a local, which I really like, and create my own little kind of writing retreats in different places. Right now, as we're doing this, I'm house sitting in North London in a really lovely home. It's been refurbished. It's just great. For 5 kitties, I've got 5 Devon Rex cats. They probably will at some point make an appearance here on this podcast. But they're lovely animals, and the homeowners are in touch with me, and they're having a time of their life in Tokyo right now.
Well, that's exciting. That's very topical right now with all kinds of things happening in the Far East.
Yes, yes. So it's a trip that they've been wanting to plan. They've been planning and wanting to take for quite a long time. And so I'm excited that I'm able to help give them the peace of mind, knowing that they're not only their animals, but that their home is being watched and cared for as well. So it's a great chance for me. I've started doing some travel blogging for a website called Travel Awaits. And they actually pay me for my travel stories, which is fun. So I just got done house sitting in Seoul for a month over the holidays. And I pitched this travel website on 6 different stories from Seoul, which gave me an opportunity then to kind of see Seoul in a different way. And Lamia, here's what's so cool. They paid me, and that paid for my plane ticket to and from there.
Well, that's exciting. That's a wonderful sort of result out of at the end of that house sit. Marvelous.
It was, and what made it possible for me was the house sit, and to be in this lovely flat that I was in Seoul and taking care of 2 kitties there, and it was a lovely time. And then I've also written a book. I know we're going to talk about it a little bit later, but how to become a house sitter. Insider tips from the HouseSit Diva. So that's something. So that's part of my writing career. And then I also edit books and work with authors, and I can do that from anywhere in the world virtually.
So now a portable career, and you get to experience travel from neighborhoods and so on. I mean, that's wonderful. You've mentioned London. You've mentioned house sitting in Seoul. Where else has house sitting taken you?
Hanoi, Kuala Lumpur, Penang, Langkawi, which is an island just kind of north. It's part of Malaysia, but it's an island north of Malaysia. Throughout Europe, Berlin, Gibraltar, Paris, I was in Réunion last summer. I'm sure I'm butchering the way to pronounce that name. It's a French island. That's just near Madagascar. And so after that, that was a wonderful house sit. And after that house sit was over, I spent a couple of weeks in Madagascar, which was an amazing trip. And I've also house sat throughout Africa, Senegal, Malawi, Mozambique twice. Really love Mozambique. So house sitting has taken me to places that I wouldn't have ordinarily put on my travel radar. And it's been just such a joy to have a chance to experience these different places,
Well, that really is
especially as an
extraordinary.
insider. Yeah, especially, you know, as an insider, but also with an insider. So oftentimes what the homeowners do is they make a list of their favorite restaurants or their favorite things to do. Oftentimes they will introduce me to a friend of theirs. So I have someone to pal around with. When I was in Réunion, the homeowner introduced me to her friend Anne, who had just recently retired. And Anne and I, oh, we just became brilliant friends, and we went all over the place. And we ended up in a Zodiac snorkeling with humpback whales because it was whale migrating time. And it was an experience that I wouldn't have been able to have had as a tourist. I wouldn't have been able to have it quite in the same way that we were in a Zodiac. We were experiencing whales all around us. It was, oh, I just get chills thinking about it. It was extraordinary. And it was a house sit that provided that, and the homeowner who introduced me to her friend that made that possible. So it was very exciting.
Well, that's really quite a gift to be able to kind of get a built-in introduction to the community.
Yes.
Are there any other ways you like to get involved in the community while you're house sitting?
I do. The writing is an entree for me. So in some of the places where I've house sat, I've had an opportunity to actually volunteer on the ground. So for example, I was house sitting in Berlin a few years ago during the height of the Syrian refugee crisis. And the homeowner there, she and I have become good friends through the house sits that I've done with her. And she knows of my interest in refugees. So she found out the place where the refugees go to sign in, to register. And I went down and volunteered for a day, and I interviewed a couple of refugees and wrote a story about that, and just kind of helped out during the day, passing out sandwiches and water. I mean, it was such an overwhelming crisis, but so I don't feel like I did a lot. But it was an opportunity to kind of be in Berlin and part of something that was history making and huge. Another example is when I was in Hanoi house sitting, I spent an afternoon at the Friendship Village, which is a village that an American soldier created for children who were born with birth defects, probably due to Agent Orange, the horrible defoliant that the Americans dropped over most of Vietnam during the Vietnamese War. And it's still in the soil. That stays around for 400 years. And it's still creating problems. And so there are still village kids that are being born with some really horrific birth defects that are pretty overwhelming for village families to take care of. So this American soldier built this residential place for kids to come and live and get school and be productive and be part of their own community. And I went and I volunteered for a day there. And again, it was the house sit in Hanoi that provided me with that opportunity. And I also wrote about that experience. So I have several stories like that where I've really had a chance to do things that have been very unique. Hiroshima, I went to the 75th commemoration of the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and I had a house sit in Osaka that gave me freedom and flexibility to travel down to those other cities. And so I used the Osaka house sit as a base to be able to go to Nagasaki and to go to Hiroshima and be part of that community. And I wrote about those experiences as well. So I'm really hooked on house sitting.
It certainly sounds like it, and afoot in many camps, certainly in the communities that you visited. So that's really wonderful.
Yes, thank you.
So if somebody wants to try house sitting and they had a little sense of adventure, or they wanted to just try something different, do you have any recommendations for complete newbies, somebody who's thought about it but really done nothing about it yet?
I do. I think the first thing I always tell people is to house sit in an area where you're familiar. So whether it's your own community or a community where you grew up or you used to live, someplace where you're kind of minimizing all of the X factors, right? There's a lot about house sitting that requires a lot of flexibility and things you don't know. So if I'm going to a new city, a new country, that's all new. If I'm going to a new home, new pets, new homeowners, new relationship with the homeowners, all of that stuff is new. So I think for the first timers, I would recommend that you try to minimize as many of those X factors as possible. So house sit in your own hometown. It'll give you an idea of what kind of animal you want to house sit for, the type of relationship you want to have with a homeowner, the type of home you want to be living in, and really get a good feel for what works for you. The second thing I always recommend to not just newbies, but to anybody, is to really think about the kind of travel experience you want to have. So sometimes when I'm going to a new place, I want to be more of a tourist, and I want to have the opportunity to get out and experience a new city or a new country. So I don't want to be tied to a home where the dog needs to be walked every 3 or 4 hours, for example, a puppy. I wouldn't take that house sit under those circumstances. Other times I'm on a writing deadline, or I'm working with an author and I'm editing a book and I have deadlines there. And so I'm really more interested in staying home and getting the work done. So having a dog force me to get up off my seat and away from my computer every 3 hours is a blessing. So that's just kind of one example. But I think to really think about the kind of travel experience you want to have so that you match yourself up with the right kind of house sit is an important recipe for success.
Wonderful. Well, I know are sort of some of the recommendations you have in your book, Learning How to House Sit. Forgive me, what's the title?
How to Become a House Sitter, Insider Tips from the HouseSit Diva.
Well, thank you, HouseSit Diva. That's really, really great as a recommendation. So one other request, actually, if I may. You will have met many homeowners, some who will have just started their house sitting experience themselves, some who are seasoned homeowners. You've had lots of experience with the welcome that they give. Do you have any recommendations for homeowners how to welcome a house sitter, how to prepare them for looking after their home and pets? Any top tips for a homeowner?
Oh, I do. Thank you so much for asking that question, because I think, especially for new homeowners who haven't had a house sitter, it's a little overwhelming to think about having a total stranger come into your home. And I think sometimes homeowners can go in one of two directions. They either get very embarrassed about their home and are kind of uncomfortable about its foibles. And if that's the case, then just make sure you let the house sitter know about those foibles so that the house sitter can make a decision about whether or not that's the right fit for him or her. The other direction that homeowners go in is they think their place is just fabulous, and the whole world wants to live in this house. And while that's a lovely sentiment about your own home, that you feel that way, not everybody is going to necessarily feel the same way. So it's important to look at your home from the perspective of a stranger coming in who's going to be living there. And once you do that, then I think that opens the doors to really being welcoming. I know I have been welcomed so graciously by many of the homeowners. The homeowners here where I'm house sitting right now, they filled the fridge. They set up their bedroom for me so that I'm sleeping in their really comfy bed. And they've just gone out of their way to do some special things to make me feel at home here. And that's just a really caring thing. It's a generous, gracious thing to do.
It's very thoughtful by the sounds of it. I mean, some people are very thoughtful, aren't they?
Yes. I mean, many homeowners clear space for me in dressers and closets so that I have a place to unpack. They give me my own little area so that my own things can be kept together away from the pets. As I said, some have filled refrigerators. Some have given me transportation cards. So for the local bus system or the local subway system. One woman in Amsterdam gave me a museum card so that I could get into many of the museums for free. What you're hearing in the background is Loki deciding that he needs to be part of this interview. So he's bopping around in the background here.
Oh, we look forward to his introduction.
Yes,
Come up, Loki.
Yeah, he'll be up in a minute, I'm sure. He's fun.
Okay.
He likes to be part of everything. And other homeowners have filled the fridge. It's really kind. I think it's important for homeowners to remember that the house sitter is a stranger coming to a strange place and really giving of their time, because of course I don't get paid. And I know most of the house sitters that belong to House Sit Match do not get paid for what they do. And I'm paying my own way to get to a place. Oftentimes paying for my own visa, maybe paying for my own inoculations. That I have my own costs about that. And I think that should never be underestimated and taken for granted. So if there's mutual appreciation, then there could be, what was the line from Casablanca? This is the beginning of a beautiful friendship, right?
Well, that's a great sentiment too. I mean, as a house sitter, clearly you're a very collaborative person. You're very considerate yourself. Do you have any suggestions for house sitters, how they can return the favor of someone allowing them into their home? Do you have any top tips from someone who's done it for 10 years? What might they do to allow the homeowner to feel comfortable that they're in their home, but also that, as a thank you for that gesture?
I think it's important for house sitters to maintain the routine. I think the best thing I can do is keep the pets happy, keep the home clean, but keep everything kind of as it is so that the homeowner doesn't feel judged, so that the homeowner doesn't feel uncomfortable in any way. Now, I myself have been on the homeowner end of it. I only recently sold my house in Santa Monica, California, and I had a cat there for a while, and so I would have house sitters come in. One time, a house sitter rearranged my furniture, and she thought she was doing me a great service because she'd feng shuied it and done all this. I was furious, and I felt so self-conscious about my own home. And as a house sitter, I never want to have a homeowner feel that way. There's things in just about every home that I would do differently. It's not my home, so I would do things differently. But that doesn't mean that I need to impose that on the homeowner. So I think it's really important for house sitters to be respectful and non-judgmental and make the homeowner feel as comfortable as I want them to make me feel when I'm in their home.
I think that's a really nice tip, actually. Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
And thank you for your time today. It's been really, really interesting, Kelly.
Thank you. Well, again, can I just pitch the book for a second?
Please do. Everyone needs this.
So it's How to Become a House Sitter, Insider Tips from the HouseSit Diva. It's available on Amazon in either the book or Kindle. And it's also available as an ebook on my website at www.housesitdiva.com, housesitdiva.com. And I have photos and blogs on there and all kinds of fun stuff for house sitters. And hopefully it's a way that we can be a little bit more collaborative.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you again. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Lami, and I love what you do. You've got a great site.
Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you, Kelly. Bye-bye.